This is Mount Fromme, one of 3 famous North Shore mountains in Vancouver, Canada, the other 2 being Seymour and Cypress. For this week's video, I'll be reviewing Mount Fromme in case you're visiting or you're just curious. As always, I'll start with basics and then move on to the actual review. Mount Fromme is a tall mountain with almost 4,000 feet of elevation. This gives you the opportunity to ride way longer trails, some runs even taking 15 minutes if you take your time. However, this does mean that there's a long climb, but I'll get back to that. If you know the North Shore Mountains, you know they're famous for their insane wooden skinnies and other technical features. Anyways, Fromme had 90 trails. Currently, they have 70 because a lot of runs have been decommissioned. These are 6 beginners, 23 intermediates, 25 advanced, 12 experts, and 3 pro lines. I definitely don't have time to talk about every trail, but I'll try to talk about the popular ones. It seems that the way that they add difficulty is by more tech and skinny features, not by flow. So I'll start with the review of some popular green trails. These include Cedar Crest and King of the Shore. Both of these runs are very tame, with a few rocks and roots for beginners to have fun on. There are some skinnies on these trails, but they're more like wides, if you know what I mean. The wooden bridges that Fromme's green trails feature are relatively straight because it has to be kept easy to maintain its rating. All of the beginner trails on Mount Fromme are towards the bottom, so riders new to mountain biking on trails don't have to climb that much. Next are the blue, or intermediate trails. I'll stick to talking about bobsled, Baden-Powell, leopard, and griffin. Bobsled may be the most popular trail at Fromme, as it's one of the few flow trails currently open to riders. This trail is exactly like its name, a bobsled course. Riders will wind their way down the mountain to the main parking lot by high-speed wooden features and dirt rollers, and even a wooden berm. I had a blast on this trail, as it for sure satisfied my need for flow. There's also Baden-Powell, a technical 2-way connector trail. If you ride the side of the mountain, this trail gets you back to the parking lot by means of fast rock rolls and technical routes. This trail is used by many riders because it is the only way to get back to the parking lot from about 50% of the trails on the mountain. It is fun both ways, though there is a bit of technical climbing involved. Lastly, there's Griffin and Leopard. These are both technical downhill trails that are fairly similar to each other. They both start relatively low on the mountain, the Leopard starts a bit higher. These trails contain short but quite steep rock rolls and wooden roller coasters and skinnies. Leopard may take you about 5 to 10 minutes to ride, but Griffin has 3 sections, so naturally it takes longer. For the black trails at Fromme, I will give you a rundown of Pipeline, Espresso, and Floppy Bunny. Pipeline is a very long technical trail with impressive wood and rock work. I had to walk down a few sections because it was very challenging in some parts. There are lots of wood features on this trail, especially skinnies, long skinnies. The trail eventually leads to a small climb with a seesaw, then to Baden-Powell, the connector trail to the parking lot. Pipeline is given the name because it runs along a pipe, so you will see the pipe to the side of the trail. Next is Espresso, a similar trail to Pipeline, but in a different way. Espresso has lots of the skinnies that Pipeline has, but they all drop into rock rolls. The rock rolls seem really fun to ride because they're steep and smooth-faced. Other than the rock rolls, Espresso has some of the other plain rocks and roots as any other tech trail. Espresso is right next to Pipeline, and they both lead to Baden-Powell. This trail is great for introductions to rock rolls and practice, because there are tons of rolls to progress on. The skinnies are also challenging, which is another cool feature. Floppy Bunny is also a black, but is a bit different than the other ones. This trail will get its own review in a few weeks, because it's the only trail that's short enough to talk about in depth. In summary, this trail has lots of wooden roller coasters and some chunk to it as well. It also has optional wooden drops that you can pass if you want to. This is towards the easier side of black trails at Fromme, but is still loads of fun. And now we've reached the double blacks and pro lines. Some famous ones are Oil Can, Ladies Only, and Air Supply. Upper Oil Can is very challenging as it features some crazy rock rolls, teeter-totters, and skinnies. The skinnies on Oil Can are very narrow and high off the ground too. Oil Can is way too challenging for me to ride, so I can't really go in depth about these features. What I will say is that there are lots of rock rolls with steep drop-offs. Though these are optional, the go-arounds are still hard. Ladies Only is the other double black Fromme is famous for. This may be the most difficult trail in the park because it features lots and lots of tech as well as tight skinnies that are also high off the ground. Ladies only is divided into two sections, ladies only and lower ladies. They're both similar, but people could argue that lower ladies is a bit more challenging. In addition, you can't go around some of the features that you can on other lines because of the steepness and difficulty. These trails also have steep rock rolls that even professional riders struggle on because they're so hard. Air Supply is the pro line I'll be talking about. This trail is currently closed to public riders, but it is still well known by many. This is a flow trail with massive drops and jumps for experienced riders. Some of the key features include a 15-foot entrance drop, a skinny lip into a gap jump, and a skinny drop-off. The trail looks crazy hard from pictures and videos, which is why it's a pro line. This line reminds me of Fade to Black at Whistler, but it actually might be a bit bigger. So now I will tell you guys about how to get around. All the fun starts at the parking lot, which is pretty big in size. Next, you climb up a very long fire road that could have been made way steeper because it does feel like it takes a really long time. The road is called Mountain Highway, and it has 7 spaced out switchbacks with turns up the steep mountain face. The climb is the only reason this bike park won't be getting a perfect score, as it's a fairly boring climb to the top. All the trails come off this road at different points. It seems like the more advanced trails are towards the top, which makes a lot of sense. Less experienced riders don't have to climb as much to access a trail they'll have a lot of fun on, which is smart on the trail builder's part. At the start of the road, you see a sign which gives you all the information on getting around. On the first few switchbacks, you find the easier trails, and as you climb up higher, the harder trails come. Mountain Highway also goes all the way up to the top of Grouse Mountain, which is a ski resort. You can go up there on a bike, but no trails are accessed this far up. By now, you probably understand why Fromme is such a bucket list destination. From its incredible tech to its high-speed flow, this mountain has it all. My final score for Fromme is going to be a 9 out of 10. It truly does have some of the best technical riding that you can find on any mountain, and that's why it's getting a great score. The only reason that I'm not giving it that 10 though is because it's a really boring climb to get all the way to the top, and it could have made more interesting. This is one of the few mountains that has a really good mix of flow and tech, though it is primarily technical riding. This mountain is really strong, and I really encourage you guys to go out and visit. That's all I have for you today, and I'll see you guys next week.